Well, I have Happier here on the lift, ready to go up into the air. You know, I mentioned in part 2 in this video series that I quote unquote restored this car in 2 weeks. Well, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun detailing it all out, getting the engine running, repairing the wiring harness, all the things that had kind of kept this car in hibernation for the last 4 years. But when I said restored in 2 weeks, it was tongue-in-cheek, okay, because there's some things that have to be fixed. I'm going to focus now on the mechanical issues. And there's one thing that's really preventing me from driving the car, getting out and really driving it right now, and that's the starter. I'm going to try, it doesn't do this all the time, so I'm not sure how successful I'll be, but I'm going to try to show you. I'll get in there and hit the starter. I'm getting a very bad grinding noise. It's obvious that the teeth aren't meshing with the ring gear on the flywheel. And you don't, if this is happening to you folks, you don't want to just keep, you know, trying to start the engine, or you will damage the ring gear, and that requires removal of the transmission. So I'm not sure. It could be a starter, it could be a worn out ring gear in one spot, or it could be both. But I'm not going to try to start this engine anymore. I'm done until I fix this issue. Let's see if we can get it to do this so you can hear what I'm hearing, and then we'll go ahead and put it up in the air and take a closer look. No, there it is. Hear that? It won't do it every time, but it does it often enough that it's putting a real strain on the teeth on that starter motor than the ring gear. So, all right, we're going to put it up in the air and take a look. I'm going to pull the covers off the transmission first, see if we can see any actual damage to that ring gear. This bell housing had a cover plate right over the front here, and the bottom cover plate here, so I actually was able to get 2 looks at this ring gear, and you know, using a socket up front, I just turned the engine over, and we just kept turning it over and looking at the teeth. You know, it's hard to see, but you can. I can't. Oh, if I get in the way of the camera here, but I got a mirror, and I looked in the mirror as we rotated this over, and you know, I saw no evidence of badly worn teeth on this ring gear here. So I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful it's only the starter, and we're gonna get up here now and pull that starter out and take a look at it on the bench. Well, we got this little baby out, and it's not an easy job. You know, of course we have a lift. You could do this on the ground, but you're going to need to get the whole car elevated, because the trick to getting this started, it's not just this 280SL, but a lot of these older Mercedes, even up into the W113 diesels, you need an extension bar like this, 3 feet long. See that? We don't have, I've got a couple long ones, I couldn't find them today, but we ended up putting a whole bunch together. And the key to this whole thing right here is this wobble extension. You need the wobble extension and a very heavy duty 10 millimeter hex socket like this here. Now we actually carry this on my website because so many people run into problems trying to get these starters out on these old Mercedes. That's the key right there. Once you have the wobble extension, and this is a heavy duty, not a cheap 10 millimeter Allen socket, a 1/2-inch drive, then you can put together a bunch of extensions. And you can see here how we actually had to go, you have to get way behind the transmission, go up alongside the drive shaft, up above the rear flex disc, and get on that top bolt going into the starter. And then you can get it off. So that's the trick. Keep that in mind if you ever have to do this job yourself. So I was fortunate enough to dig out this whole starter, and I think we're going to put it in the car, but you know, we're not going to just throw this in the car. You can see I've got my brake booster here, and I'm going to get my mechanic over here to help me, and we're going to bench test this starter. We're going to make sure, I don't want to have to do that again, folks, okay? So we're going to bench test this starter and see if it's okay before we put it in Happier. I did find that a replacement starter in my old part stock, but I'm not about ready to put this in the car unless I bench test it first. Look what I've done here. I put it on the bench. I got my booster pack, and we've got a jumper lead now hooked to the hot side, and we're going to hit the solenoid and see how this starter sounds. Oh no. That sounds terrible. Okay, well, we're going to have to do some here because that starter's not going in the car. Oh, I'm back. You know, I looked at the starter. You notice there's some rust around the end of it there where the shaft is. Maybe this thing has just been sitting too long, so I picked up my trusty Croil oil and sprayed down in where the clutch and gear are and all over that shaft. Let's see now if that's going to make any difference, because I'm not going to give up on this starter so easily. Oh, look. Yeah, okay, now it's engaging. All right, you can see the solenoid. Spin the gear out, and that's how a good starter should sound. Okay, this one's going in the car. Well, we're really happy with the results testing out this replacement starter. I did come in here and lubricate the gear and the shaft thoroughly with some synthetic lubricant. And here, once again, look at this, folks. You know, you've watched my other videos. I'm preaching all the time about lubrication, and you could see in the previous scenes what poor lubrication can do for a starter motor, all right? Now, we did put this to the test. It did not function very well. I'm very suspicious of the clutch assembly down in here because there's a big crack in it. So I'm not going to pursue this any further. You know, it's obvious this probably could be rebuilt, or you could send it out to an auto electrical repair shop and they probably could fix it. But we have a good one here. We're gonna get back under the car and get this back in and cross our fingers and hope it works. We got the starter back in. You know, I'm really crossing my fingers here because I don't want to have to replace the ring gear. Okay, so let's see. This is the fun part, right, about restoring these cars when you do something like this. Okay, let's see if it works. Here we go. Whoa! It started. I wasn't planning on it starting. I just wanted you to hear it. Wow. Well, we won't let it run here in the shop because we're not hooked up to the exhaust system, but that starter sounds really good. But so we can put that one aside. You know, that's fixed. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish changing the fluids. We changed the engine oil, and I'll probably change it again in a few hundred miles after I finish adjusting the fuel injection system. But I want to go ahead and change the rear end fluid. We're going to change the transmission fluid, and we're going to flush the brake system next. And then, when I'm done with that, we're going to go after this fuel injection system. You know, I got another problem this is an automatic, when I roll down slow to a stop, you know, I get this big jerk in the transmission. And if any of you have ever driven one of these old Benzes with these types of automatics, you know, you might think, oh man, I got a problem with the transmission. Well, guess what? It's probably a problem with the fuel injection system. And if we go through this series, this could end up being a huge series, just going through everything related to fine-tuning, adjusting this mechanical fuel injection on these old 6-cylinder engines. So we'll be working on that in the future, so stay tuned for the next episode. I forgot to mention, if you like these videos, please leave a comment. That really helps me determine where to put the emphasis. I get comments all the time. Can you do a video on this or do a video on that? You know, I can't do videos on everything, but I do want to try to do the videos on that people are most interested in watching. And also, be sure and subscribe to my channel, because that's when you're going to get updates on all the future videos that are going to come out on Little Happier here.